Welcome back to another episode of Marcelina, my Reliance 44 sailboat project. So it's been a really long time since my last update, something like 8 months, so we have a bit to catch up on. Where we left off last time, I had showed some slow progress being made on the interior cabinets. We had finished the new chain plate installation. We rebuilt and reinstalled the anchor windlass. The hatches got new lenses and were spruced up a bit, and we upgraded some engine-related stuff. This time, I'm going to start with a general overview of the boat. Then we'll jump in with some of the new things that have been done, such as refurbishing and reinstalling the port lights, rewiring and re-rigging the masts, powder coating some aluminum parts, explaining how I was abandoned again, and we'll discuss installation and wiring of the new switch panel. So let's get to it. So some people have commented that it's kind of hard to get a perspective on where I'm doing the work on the boat when you watch my videos. So I wanted to try to give you a little better perspective of the boat, where I'm working on it, how it looks overall. So here's the boat in the storage facility right there. All right, so I'm up on the back of the boat right now. I'm going to flip the camera around and I'll show you the back and then scan up to the front to give you an idea of what we're looking at.
The cockpit, all of the wood is still off, sitting in the basement of my friend's house. We'll need to get refinished and reinstalled on the boat, but all the painting is done. It's getting a little messy from the pigeons, but that'll clean up. And stepping down into the cockpit and looking forward, you see my makeshift vacuum system with the pail that collects most of the dust. A new hatch that's been, not a new hatch, but a reinstalled hatch. All my tools and stuff, my fan to keep me cool up on deck. Looking down into the interior, looking forward to the boat. So let me just walk forward quick. Again, here's the port lights that I reinstalled. The hatches cleaned up, put back in. All the work up at the bow, the windlass, the cleat. A pulpit reinstalled, tow rail, deck's all completely done. Again, it's all cluttered because I got my tools all over the place, but you get an idea of what I'm doing. Now let's go down below. And we'll see down below. Now here's, well, it's dark, but we're basically storing a bunch of tools right now. It's going to be a storage work area. And over here on the port side, it's over here again, storage, clutter. But this is going to be a cabin, sleeping cabin. It says captain's quarters there, so perhaps that will be the main captain's quarters, at least when we're under sail. And in the main salon, yeah, my cabinet maker's got, he's got some issues he's dealing with, so he's just working on it maybe a couple hours a week. He's got the nav station, which is going to go right in here at the desk, back in his shop, so he's been working on that slowly to try to get that done and eventually installed. He's got some work, kind of the outline of the galley here. So back just below the thermometer there is where the stove is going to be. In here is going to be the refrigerator. And over here, under these tools sitting here, is going to be the sink and the cabinet underneath. And down below, there's the engine. So have reasonably good access to the engine. Where the paper here is where the instruments are going to go. Just a brief layout. Switch panels going over here. And then forward is where the living area is. There'll be a settee, bookshelves, and over on this side, U-shaped settees with a table in the middle and shelves up front. So that's what's going on. Just wanted to give an overall perspective of the boat. Still a lot of work to do, and yeah, it's going really slowly, but we'll get there, and we'll make it float, and we'll go sailing sometime in the next couple of years, I hope. Thanks. Well, in the summertime, it's always pretty warm in here in the storage shed as the sun beats down on the roof. But I've managed to get the port lights all cleaned up, replaced the acrylic in the fixed port lights, and remounted them in the boat. So let me show you that. So here are the operable port lights. I didn't have to replace the acrylic in these. They're open so you can't see the acrylic at the moment, or polycarbonate as the case may be in the original. But here are the fixed port lights. I used a light tint, light smoke I think it's called. And these are just sealed to with silicone to the deck housing. So I had the marina pull the masts down off the wall so I can work on them. Now I only have about 6 weeks before they have to go back up on the wall to make room for more boats, or for the boats being pulled out of the water and put back in storage. But I'll show you real quick some of the work that needs to be done. Again, I don't know if I'm going to get this done this year, or I'll have to pull them off the wall again next year. I'm sure I will next year, but we'll see what I can get done in the next few weeks as far as the masts go. So this is the top of the main mast. I'll need to replace the masthead light. You can see the wiring is coming apart, fraying. I'm sure breaking down from the UV. The antenna mount will have to be replaced and new wires run for that. There's no Windex on here, so I'll have to install that, and I'll either go wireless or if I go with a wired system, I'll have to run the wires for that as well. Also, this is what's called the Triarch. I'm not sure about the mounting of this. I have to think about that. This is the main halyard, which is a wire halyard. I'm going to go back to rope, and the I forget what it's called. The pulley here is it's not grooved, so I can go back to a rope halyard for that. That shouldn't be a problem. And then we've got the halyards for the spinnaker and for the Genoa here. All the fittings up here seem to be just fine as far as the upper shrouds on either side, and the now here at the this is the forward stay. Losing my mind here. Forward stay for the no, I take it back. This is the back stay. So for the back stay for the main mast here. This is the top end of the current roller reefing system for the Genoa. That's going to be replaced. And some more of the systems. Again, the connecting areas for the lower shrouds seems to be fine. All this stay wiring is going to be replaced. I'm in the process of getting a quote for that to get all that ordered, along with the I'm going to use what's called the Hain high mod type connectors here. This tangled mess down here. You can see this is for the main sheet halyard winch, which is a wire system. I'm not going to take that off and have everything running to the deck and organized so I can run it from the cockpit. Again, another halyard winch here, gooseneck. This is where it goes through the deck and the skirt. And again, the end of the roller reefing system that will be replaced. Now over here, this is the mizzen mast, much less complicated. We have two back stays, topping lift, shrouds left and right, excuse me, port and starboard, and then the other end of the tri-arc, which runs up to the top of the main mast. Got the mount here for the radar. And I don't know, I'm not sure, I've never used radars, but I'll probably need to remove the cover and inspect that, make sure everything's working properly. Down at this end, the gooseneck, all the wiring, again, a wire halyard for the... I had thought at one point about possibly painting the masts. I'd like to have them a nice white. That's a pretty big job in itself, and I may save that for some winter after I get the boat in the water and start sailing for a bit. Anyway, that's the mizzen mast, main mast over here. Needs a little work, a little cleanup, and a lot of replacing before it goes back on the boat. So over the next, like I said, 6 weeks, I'll be working on that, and we'll see how much I can get done.
After seeing a discussion of the use of conduit inside masts to prevent the wires from slapping back and forth while in a rolly anchorage, I decided to take a look inside my masts. Sure enough, no conduit, just old wiring and debris that needed to be cleaned up. So I undertook the process of installing PVC conduit in both the main and mizzen masts. What you see here is about 60 feet of 1.5 inch diameter PVC conduit ready to slide inside the main mast. To secure the conduit inside the mast, I simply applied a bead of sealant, in this case liquid nails, to the top of the conduit as I slid it in. Then, when it was all the way in, I spun the conduit 180 degrees so that the sealant contacted the mast. I sure hope the sealant works because the whole operation was kind of a pain. Once the conduit was in, I could pull the new wire through, including a wired wind speed indicator. Once that was done, I replaced the cast plugs at the bottom of the mast. At first, I replaced the original rivets with off-the-shelf aluminum rivets. Then I read about different types of aluminum, specifically related to rivets and masts, and found that I was setting myself up for some galvanic corrosion. So I drilled out the rivets and replaced them with stainless steel screws. After I replaced all the stays with new stainless steel stays, including with new high mod terminals, I realized that I also needed to replace the tangs which connect the stays to the mast. This is because, according to my calculations, I needed heavier wire on the main mast, but could use slightly lighter wire on the mizzen. So all the tangs, including the nuts and bolts that hold them in place, are all brand new. After getting everything mounted to the masts, I came across a discussion of sealing the lower connectors to prevent water from running down inside them. Now, Hayne doesn't say anything about sealing them, but it makes perfect sense to me that you don't want salt water sitting inside the terminals with no way of getting out. So I managed to unscrew the fittings, which had been sealed with the strongest Loctite that is made, and injected butyl sealant before reassembling them. It was a messy job and very tiring, but it should prevent any hidden corrosion. Speaking of corrosion, the mast collar, also known as the deck collar, the part that supports the mast as it passes through the deck, had a vinyl covering that was cracked and torn. This meant that the rain and seawater were being trapped against the aluminum inside, and you can see the results. So I cleaned up the part the best I could and had it sandblasted and powder coated. The result is a restored mast collar that should last a lifetime. I mentioned before being abandoned again. My latest cabinet guy had some serious family issues to deal with. In September, he informed me that he needed to take a few weeks off. Well, it's been 4 months now and I haven't heard from him, and I can't reach him. I'm not angry at him, I just hope that he's okay. At this point, however, I've decided to take matters into my own hands, and I'll do the interior work myself. I've started with the forward berth. Here, I finished it with foam-backed vinyl on the walls and ceiling, replaced the door to the anchor locker, and painted everything white. I still need to refinish some of the wood and have new custom cushions made. I've also started some work on the head by enclosing the area where the main mast passes through the boat. Eventually, I'll be putting in a composting toilet, a shower, and a sink. However, the rest of the interior work, including the main cabin, I think I'll wait until later to take care of. I've also run most of the main electrical lines for the boat, and just recently I installed the new switch panel and hooked up the power and the loads to it. Bilge pumps, water pump, lines for lights, refrigerator, etc. I didn't shock myself even once, and nothing smoked when I flipped it on. I'll declare that a success. Hopefully I won't wait so long for the next update, and I hope to be able to bring you some work on the wood being refinished and installed in the cockpit, the steering pedestal being mounted back in place, and maybe, if I have time, some newly acquired cabinet making skills. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll come back again for another update on Marcelina, my Reliance 44 sailboat project. Thanks.